Welcome to The Explainer. So, have you ever used the words grace, mercy, and compassion, kind of like they all mean the same thing? Yeah, most of us do. But today, we're going to dive into a specific theological teaching that draws some really fascinating and pretty sharp lines between them.
Okay, here's what we've got lined up. We're going to start with why we'd even separate these ideas in the first place. Then we'll break down each one. First, grace and its power, then mercy and how far it reaches, and finally, compassion, which gets to the heart of the matter. Then we'll wrap it all up by putting them side by side so you can really see the whole picture.
They all sound like different flavors of divine kindness, right? But the teaching we're digging into today, from a sermon by Pastor Elvis Fort Church, argues they are not the same at all. In fact, it draws some surprisingly clear lines in the sand. So let's unpack this framework and see what it's all about. All right, let's kick things off with the first term. And according to this teaching, it's the most specific of the three: grace. So get this, in this view, grace isn't some passive gift, it's active, it's power. Think of it less like a pardon and more like a divine energy drink for your soul. It's a boost, but it's given specifically to someone who's already fallen and is actually trying to get back up. It'll give you a push, but you've got to already be trying to walk.
And here's the catch. It's exclusivity. In this framework, grace isn't for just anybody. The teaching is super specific here. It's for a believer who is humble enough to say, I messed up, and who genuinely wants to do better. It's the direct answer to that prayer of, I can't do this on my own, I need help.
This quote from the sermon just nails it. It really sums up the whole idea. Grace isn't a blanket handout. It's more like a partnership, a divine strength that shows up to meet human will. It's the power you get to achieve something you're already striving for.
Okay, so if grace is super specific and targeted, our next concept, mercy, is, well, it's pretty much the opposite. According to this teaching, its scope is way, way broader.
So where grace was all about empowerment for the willing, mercy is explained as this much more universal kindness. It's not a response to what a person wants to do, but to the situation they're in, their helplessness, their suffering.
And the key difference here, it all comes down to the condition of the person asking. Mercy is for when you are completely, totally out of options. The sermon gives this powerful example of a father with a sick son. He's powerless to change the situation. He isn't asking for strength to be a better dad. He's crying out for mercy from a place of just total desperation.
And this is a really powerful idea from the sermon, that mercy can actually win out over justice. It's not about getting what you deserve. It's about getting kindness you absolutely don't deserve. It's an intervention that just bypasses all the rules. And that brings us to our third and final term, compassion. And this teaching presents it as something even deeper, even more personal than mercy. This is not just feeling sorry for someone from a distance. The sermon describes compassion as God truly feeling a person's situation from their point of view. It's this deep, internal, emotional gut reaction, and it's aimed at those who are either innocent or just totally naive about what's going on. And this just brilliantly illustrates the difference. Here it is. Mercy is for the helpless. Compassion is for the clueless. It's for people who don't even know they're in danger, like the people of Nineveh who had no idea about their moral state, or those crowds following Jesus, just lost and leaderless. God's heart in this teaching just goes out to them. Okay, we've broken down all three. Now let's pull it all together on one slide and really see how this whole framework just clicks into place. This table just lays it all out so clearly. Let's just trace the flow. Look at who the recipient is. For grace, it's a willing believer. For mercy, it's a helpless person. And for compassion, it's an unaware soul. Then look at the purpose. Grace is for empowerment. Mercy is to alleviate suffering. And compassion is empathy that makes you act. It literally moves from a responsive power to a gift of kindness to a deep emotional reaction. So, the big takeaway from this teaching is that these are not just synonyms for kindness. They actually form this really structured way of looking at different human needs and the different kinds of divine help that might be available. It's a whole framework that really depends on where a person is at and their own self-awareness. It's a really fascinating way to look at it, and it kind of leaves us with this final thought to chew on. When we find ourselves in a tough spot and we look for help, what are we really asking for? Is it empowerment to change, pity for our helplessness,
or an empathetic intervention because we honestly just don't know what to do?